Yes, I did.
Oh, we'll cut it out in post.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to fuck. What was the name of? Week review. This is our podcast, and we're just gonna talk about shit. So,
Specifically,
um,
case law, history, and then just our lives in general. Let's go. Just kidding.
anyway, that just happened. Um, okay, so I guess we'll move into the case for this week. Um, and this is a pretty here. Let me get my thing going. So this is actually a pretty famous case, but
Ooh.
not really for the way or for the reason you're probably thinking. Um, so this is back in the 60s, 1964 to be specific.
Ooh,
It
spicy.
is a United States Supreme Court case. This made it all the way up to the top. All right.
All right.
It's called Jacob Ellis versus Ohio.
Jacob
Everything
Bellis
happens
versus
in
Ohio.
Ohio, apparently.
Oh.
Um, and it is a First Amendment case. So as you might
Ooh.
know, First Amendment is protection of free speech like supremely, right? And things besides
I mean,
the
there's more
words
to
that
that,
you
but yeah.
utter, but supremely, like everybody knows, First Amendment is freedom of speech.
Right.
Um, so alongside that, you have your freedom of speech in the literal sense, like I can go out and I can yell racial slurs at people, but I have to be ready for the consequences. They're probably not going to be legal because I have freedom of speech, but
Inciting violence.
there probably will be consequences.
Right.
Um, however, not all speech is protected,
Right.
and not speech isn't limited to just the words that you utter, right? It can be conduct, it can be art, things like that. So
Right. As you
the speech here is the showing of a film by Luis Mal, I think is his name. He's probably French or something like that. It's called The Lovers, and in it they have a scene which the state at that time deemed to be obscene. I'm guessing
gotcha.
some chick was getting porked. Um,
All right.
and so Jacob Ellis, this guy, he's the manager of a theater, right? And
Nice.
he shows the movie because it's art, right? And it's something it's been shown all over the world, super famous film at the time. Why isn't my camera focusing?
Okay. I was
Um,
just about to say that.
and so it's still not focusing.
Cover it and then move your hand another way. And move your hand. That's still not focusing.
Here, let me.
He's gone. There you go.
There we go.
Okay,
She's got to be at a certain distance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Don't
that
move.
was weird. Yeah, so this guy he goes ahead and shows the
The
film to
film, right?
everybody that's there, and he ends up getting fined. Right, he gets fined for
Ooh.
$500 on the first time that he shows it, which in the '60s, $500 is
Oh
that's pretty
yeah,
substantial.
that's a fair amount of
Um,
money.
and on the second count, the second time that he did it, he was charged $2,000. So
Ooh.
total in 2022 is what this is sort of extrapolating it out to. It's about $25,000 for showing a bunch of people a porno.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh,
Damn.
and he didn't pay the fees, and so he was brought into court. This made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, all the
Wow.
way through the Ohio system too. It went through their Court of Appeals, all the way through their Supreme Court, and then moved federally. Um, and so the important thing that comes out of this is a is a test called, and it's similar to an elephant test, right? Where you
Right.
will the basic premise of that is it's something is hard to describe, but you instantly know it when you see it. So an elephant, if you were to describe it to an alien or something like that,
Right.
kind of hard to describe. They're weird. They're weird looking animals, but if you see one,
that's true.
instantly you would know that's an elephant. Um, and so the court up until this point had no idea how to determine um, whether pornographic films were obscene or even whether they were obscene in nature. And so the test here was one of the most famous quotes in all of like jurisprudence comes from Justice Stewart, and he simply says, "We don't know how to tell if this is pornographic in nature, but I'll know it when I see it." Which is,
Okay.
first of all, the craziest thing to make legal precedent because it's entirely subjective. But that also came after a bunch of, at this point, pretty much only men were sitting on the Supreme Court,
Obviously.
taking a recess from the case. They took a recess and they were like, "We're gonna go verify this." So it's a bunch of old, graying 65-year-old men
Oh,
sitting in a room watching porn together,
No.
oh no.
determining
Wow.
I don't like that.
if this was obscene or not. And so, yeah, it's the exact case, the exact quote. Justice Stewart said, "I shall not today attempt to further define the kinds of material I understand to be embraced within that shorthand description," talking about the words hardcore pornography. And perhaps I could never succeed in intelligibly doing so, but I know it when I see it, and the motion picture involved in this case is not that. So he watched it and he was like,
Okay.
I've watched some porn in my life,
Yeah, in the
this-
60s, yeah.
and this ain't it. And so Jacob Ellis ends up winning the case
Right.
because the court determined that it wasn't hardcore pornography of the kind that possesses no value, right?
Right.
Pornographic things can have some value, and those are tests that we can find in other cases, right?
Right.
But there's certain porn that just, Riley Reid, as beautiful of an artist as she is, it's not art for the most part, what she puts out. It has no, it has no societal value. So as life-changing as it may be, that would be considered, for instance, obscene pornographic
Right,
speech that
that
is
you-
not protected
yeah.
by the First Amendment. And so this was the pretty much the precedent going forward. And anytime that you have a opinion such as this, it just completely fucks up every case coming after it, because everyone's like, "Well, I'll know it when I see it." And if you imagine in the 60s,
Oh,
porn's not so easy to come by, right?
not,
You
not really.
can't-
No.
Yeah, you can't just pull up your phone and just, go to Pornhub or X videos or something. It was generally like a nightly thing, right? You had to get dressed up with the fellas and go to the theater to watch porn. So it was an entirely different vibe.
Right.
And so it changed things, to say the least. And
As you would.
I think my thing is that if we were to go back and we were to watch The Lovers, for instance, I'm willing to bet that it is probably one of the tamest things.
Yeah, it's fine.
Game of Thrones is probably worse than The Lovers, and that shit was on HBO for like 8 seasons. So I can't even imagine how Justice Stewart and other Supreme Court judges in this time would react to the sheer deluge of porn that the average man is within reach of at any given time nowadays.
Yep.
So
And I think it's important to mention that for what you're saying is the freedom of speech, like that's the First Amendment. It's like it's freedom of expression as well. So it's like they kind of like
Yeah.
hand in hand. So
yeah, the expression part is very much that that like conduct thing, right? And there are tests for that.
Yeah.
Quick thing, because this isn't a case, but this actually did happen in New Mexico, which is where we are all from. I don't really think that's doxing us or
No.
anything.
No.
But there was just really briefly, there was a professor at UNM who, I think in like the 80s or
University of
something
New
like that.
Mexico.
Yes. Pretty much weekly, like on some sort of regular basis, he would just strip down fully naked at like
What?
7 a.m. and would just
What?
run across campus.
What?
Okay.
And obviously, this was a problem.
Yes.
And so he had successfully argued for a while. He eventually lost, but his argument was that he was running naked in order to protest. I think it was some sort of like a big, national thing that was going on, right?
Right.
I don't think it was Vietnam because that was too late.
Yeah,
So it may have been some later conflict. But regardless, he was saying, no, I actually just run naked because I'm protesting this thing. And that could be fine, but a reasonable person, that this is the test, a reasonable person would need to be able to deduce, based on your conduct, what you are saying. And him just stripping down butt naked and running across campus at 7 a.m., nobody would be like, you know what? I think he's protesting something.
Yeah.
So he eventually lost. There's cases where people have won, such as the naked bike rally that they have in Seattle. That still goes on, and they won that. But that's maybe another case for another time. It sort of touches on the same thing. But they actually had a reason, and they all painted themselves, so you would know, hey, that person's naked, but they're also naked for a cause.
They're also
Yeah.
there for a reason.
So
Yeah.
it is it's an interesting area. First Amendment is probably one of my favorite areas of the law to study. I think it is
Me as well.
very misunderstood by the American populace. They think that they could pretty much do anything here in America, and to some extent you can.
Right, but not everything is protected because not
Not
everything
everything.
should be protected.
And not everything is legally protected.
Right.
So just be careful what you say, because even if the law's like, you know what, you could say that shit, the guy next to you might not agree with that.
Yes.
So, and I'm more afraid of him than I am of the law. So, but that is Jacob Ellis versus Ohio in 1964. So
Nice.
we've
There you
had porn since then, and long before then.
Yeah, they used to it was like the 1800s. You could go into like a bar or something that they had, and you could pay this little machine that had pictures of or they weren't even naked, of just women that you could go and you could just pop a little coin in, and you could go and look into it, and that was the
I've seen those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I used one.
Yeah.
It's like those those red things that you can put on your head, on your face, and you like click through the
Yeah,
the
it's like a
pictures,
little toy.
and it's like a little reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those, but like you had to fucking look down.
Yeah, you had to look into it.
They had a light that would show up through the film,
Right.
and it was just like I think when I did it, it was in like Dodge, Kansas or something, because my dad's really big into westerns, so we went to a lot of that stuff, and I think they had one there, and they were just like unassuming pictures of women, like they weren't even like none of them were
Yeah.
nude. They
No,
weren't even in like
nothing.
swimsuits or anything like that. It was just like what you'd see outside. So I can't even imagine popping a quarter into one of those boys. and
Yep, and then
walking away
you
like,
just
oh, that was
that
Yeah,
was
that
something.
was something.
Wow.
yeah. That was something
I'm
right
set
there.
for the month now.
Yeah,
It's like an entire week's
gonna-
pay that you just
I'm gonna be imagining
thing.
her for a week.
Yeah.
yeah. But they had those for like a while, and then slowly advancing. But yeah, that's funny. That's kind of
Alrighty.
that's crazy.
Well, now we're going to move into a segment that we couldn't do last time because of technical issues, but we think we've gotten it.
Yep.
So now we're going to move into the weekly meme audit, in which everybody here, there might be more people later on that will submit, has submitted a meme for this week. They're all on TikTok because TikTok cool. And so we're gonna watch all of them, and then we're gonna vote, and then that'll be the meme of the week.
Yep. All right.
Let me watch the stream.
Make sure everybody's in, and then you in, Scott?
Yep.
All right. Well, this is
Man.
perception.
Okay.
That was dumb.
Okay, so the lightsaber itself, I wasn't too. I was like, yeah, it's kind of funny, but it's when they put the lightsabers away.
Put it away.
That's okay. Oh,
All right, ready?
Son of a bitch.
Me practicing the
What?
ancient and deadly art of Wing Chun on random potheads.
God damn
It's just.
it. Oh, that's. I like it.
And then we'll go to the next one. Oh, this one. What?
oh yeah.
Hang on, let me turn this one up.
I'll fight you. Neville, I'm really, really sorry about this.
What are we talking about?
Dude, it's the way he falls.
Yeah, I know. He just falls straight back.
Gryffindor's in trouble again. I'll fight you. Neville, I'm
It's also
really,
so
really sorry
quiet.
about this.
Just a gunshot. Dude, this fucking first comment, Harry Potter in
The
the chamber is
comment-
loaded.
Harry Potter in the chamber is loaded is so good.
That
Oh
one
my-
and then the other one, the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hollow Points. That was fucking funny. All right, well, those are the
Harry
three
Potter
memes.
and the Sorcerer's Strap, dude.
Which
Oh my
meme
God.
do we think was
That
the
was
best?
I'm partial to mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote number 2, Justin.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
number
wait,
two was
wait!
good.
Look at the one above the Neville one. Hang on, I think I've seen that.
Oh, this is this was supposed to be
This
last
is mine.
week's.
This is mine from last week.
Should we count these last weeks as well for the voting?
Yeah, I mean, might as well. Since we're...
All right, well we can play my last one just because I want to watch it again.
Oh, the segment's also called the weekly
Meme
meme
audit.
audit.
Yeah, here. Oh no. This is...
Oops.
Hi, Mr. Frog.
You're not supposed to be here.
Oh. Hi, Mr. Frog.
You're not supposed to be here.
All right. Well,
Oh, dude.
if we had a vote, it's gonna be Justin's from last week. That one's freaking funny.
Dude, I love that one. Almost, I love the Wing Chun one too.
Yeah, I like that one better. It's so
Practicing the ancient and deadly art of Wing Chun on random kids in my neighborhood. My boy's training.
All right. So I guess it's the Wing Chun
Oh.
wins the
Wing Chun is
weekly-
meme of the week.
Yep.
Let's go. I was sitting on that one.
meme of the week. And that was our weekly meme audit. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, so chat, make sure next week, if you want, go ahead and submit your own memes, and we'll go ahead and review them. I know there's like 1,000 of you that have been asking me if you could submit. But
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, we'll get there eventually.
go ahead and submit all your memes. I think Joe Rogan was here for a little bit. He had talked about sending a meme in, so we'll see if we can get him on sometime. But that was that was the weekly meme on it, and now we're gonna move into a special segment called History with Danny. Sort of
Danny.
History with Danny. Danny's the guy in the red.
That's me.
And it's the name's in the workshop right now. So
Right
something-
now, it's history highlights of the week with Danny. That's what
history
I got.
highlights of the week with Danny. That's a bit much, but we can stick with it.
We'll iron that out. We'll get there eventually.
But this week, why don't you go ahead and tell us what the range of dates are for this?
This week is going to be September 10th, 2023 to September 16th, 2023.
Nice.
Yes. And this is going to include history from just all over the place, or history that I think is like interesting or important or like
Yeah.
talked about. But we're going to move into it right away, which we're going to talk about September 10th, which was last Sunday for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is something that is kind of cool right away. It's about American history. So we're going to be talking about a man named Oliver Hazard Perry. In 1813, he was
Sounds like a nerd.
I know. He was a naval commander that was in command during the War of 1812 in 1813.
Oh, Perry.
Yeah, Perry.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this the
Oliver
is this
Hazard
the guy
Perry.
is this the guy with Japan? Right?
No.
Oh well, there's
Wrong
a Perry.
Perry. Yeah. I know who you're
there's a
talking about.
Perry
Yeah.
that-
It's
yeah.
a different Perry.
Okay.
But this guy, in 1813, we were at war with Great Britain during the War of 1812 because Britain was being an asshole, and
Great Britain.
they were taking American sailors. So they would take ships that belonged to America, and then they would take their sailors and force them to move back to the British Isles.
They said it's cheese day, ain't it?
Mm.
You coming
And
back with us?
Yep. And the president at the time, James Madison, I think is his name.
John Madison. Yeah, James Madison.
Yeah, James Madison. He was like, "Hey, you guys should stop that." And they're like, "How about you come stop us?"
Fucking
And
make us
then-
pig.
Basically, was what happened. And then he's like, "Okay, well then we're going to declare war on you." And then they declared war, and the British decided to actually attack the United States on American soil. So they attacked us. They made it all the way
Time foreign forces have been on domestic soil, right?
on the continental U.S. Yes.
Yeah.
There have been other instances of people going on like Alaska, but that's like not,
Yeah.
that's not for a while. But anyway, there was a battle on the Lake Erie, which because there's a way to get to Lake Erie through like from the ocean, and the
Yeah.
British were coming down. They had already taken the fort of Detroit, and they were like in the Lake Erie, and then the Americans were like, "We're gonna go fight them there." So then they did, and Oliver or Perry was on a ship called the Lawrence. Now, Lawrence was the flagship of the American Navy in the Lake Erie. And at first, then they engaged the British forces, and at first the Americans were losing, like fairly well. And so the Lawrence that they were on was the flagship and was initially attacked, and it was like pretty heavily damaged. It was so bad that the ship was disabled and they couldn't use it anymore. So in the attack, the captain of the ship was killed, and the second in command was Perry, and he took command of the ship. And the original captain, before he died, was like, he said, "Don't let them take the ship." So Perry didn't let them take the ship,
Like a gamer.
right? But they did abandon it because it was completely disabled. And he went over to another ship. And mind you, there's a battle going, like raging. There are cannons going off everywhere. And this man gets in a paddle boat with the rest of the crew from the Lawrence. And he
See,
takes a
inside.
paddle boat
Yeah.
over to the next ship while there's fighting going on still and raging. He takes command
Fucking rowing.
of that ship, and they end up shooting their cannons at the British Navy, and they shot so much they didn't even like do too much damage to the ships, but they were shooting so much that the British surrendered. And if the British didn't surrender, they would have overran the Americans because the Americans were out of ammunition. And they surrendered. And then Perry
used it all.
Yep. And then he took all of the other ships, and then he went back to Lawrence, and he took it back to. He was able to get it back to port.
Damn.
And that was the Battle of Lake Erie.
True American hero right there.
Yes, we would also go on to win the War of 1812 because the British were dealing with another major player during that time.
More like because they're ass at conflicts.
But they were successful at taking the Fort of Detroit, which was basically what the city of Detroit is. They took that. Then but they also got to Washington D.C. and they burnt down the White House.
Yeah, I don't even think it was. Was it? I don't even think it was the White House at that point.
It was called like the presidential house or something like that.
Yeah, something stupid.
Yeah, but they burnt it down. But we'll talk about that in probably a different podcast. But for now, we'll move on. We're going to move on to September 11th. And there was a major event that happened that day. Well, no, in 2001, there was the terrorist attack on the World Trade Centers. And then we're going to rewind the clock to the year 9.
Nice.
To the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. And it involved the Roman Empire and the Gaelic tribes that were over there. The Germanic tribes.
Forest.
Yeah. So, but it was a major loss for the Roman Empire. And it was the day that it ended. So September 11th was the day that battle ended. And basically the Romans were just going through like a heavily forested area through territory that they thought that they controlled. And they were led by a man named Varus. And they were attacked and violently all murdered.
Nice.
By some people hiding in a bunch of trees.
The Viet Cong, yeah.
Yeah, they were ambushed, like heavily ambushed. And everybody in Rome was like, Varus is such a weak leader. I can't believe he did that because he killed himself.
Such a loser, bro.
Yeah.
It's like the first historical time that they've been walking through the forest and be like, hey, why are the trees talking?
And it was it was one of the worst losses in Roman history at that time.
Nice.
But they lost to a bunch of dudes that were like naked and just murdering them. And then the leader killed himself, and everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. But he did that so he wouldn't get captured, because if he got captured, he would probably, if you're a Roman like a Roman commander or leader or something, you don't want to die like that. Get caught.
But I mean, if you're gonna get captured either way,
Yeah.
I'd go out with a bang. You know what I'm saying?
So that happened in 9, and then we're gonna
to be like breathing your last, and you like look up and see some naked Gaelic man standing over you, just like yelling at you in some foreign tongue.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all you see before you pass out of this world.
Yep, and that was in 9. And then September 12th, we're going back even further to 490 BC. That's when the Battle of Marathon occurred. And that was when the Athenian forces fought the Persians.
And we surely won, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. The Athenians won, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Persians decided to attack with their navy.
Not Persians.
Which is why they attacked the Athenians with their navy, and the Athenians, their navy was like the United States Navy was like the greatest navy of the time. So I'm not too sure why the Persians did that, but they did that and they severely lost.
I mean, but how good could your navy be? Like in 490 BC is like
one of the best.
You have more ships than we do, I guess.
Well, they have more ships, and they had different kind of wood, so their hulls were a lot better than with the Persians. But
beat the Lawrence though.
So that's ancient history. And September 12th, the same day in 2003, for you PC people out there, Steam launched on the internet.
Oh,
That's when Steam launched, 2003.
Huh.
About, what is that, 2,500 years after the Marathon battle?
hey, we've come a long way.
Okay, and then we're going to move on to September 13th. Now, this is an interesting time. It was the building of the Hadrian's Wall began in northern England. And in case anybody didn't know who that is, I don't think anybody knows who that is. That was an emperor.
Heard of it?
Hadrian was an emperor during the time of the Roman Empire.
I
And
always thought it was
in
Hadrian.
either one, I think.
I don't. It's a dumb name either way.
Either way, it was in the year 122. Now, the Roman Empire is basically at its height, and they invade the British Isles, or try to. And they're successful, very successful in the south. They get most of the British Isles all on the south, all the way up until, and basically into modern day Scotland. And then they hit a group of people that they cannot get past. The Romans, one of the greatest empires of ever.
They
And
didn't even have a Margaritaville. They couldn't have been that good.
That's true. They didn't have a Margaritaville.
R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett, by the way.
Yes.
But keep going.
But anyway, Hadrian's Wall was a wall that the Romans built because they couldn't tame the northern part of the British Isles. Basically, any time that they went into that area, they died. All the time. It was just the people that were there were very good at defending.
It's like a higher level area, probably.
Yeah, it was the Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah.
And they were just, the Romans literally couldn't do anything about them. And this is one of the greatest empires, and they can't. So because they couldn't do
Couldn't beat
anything,
the Anglos, am I right?
right? So
Don't be
and
this guy.
because they couldn't beat them and they couldn't tame them, they were also raiding the Romans, and they were losing a lot of men because of it. So they decided to build a wall. And the wall, if you go to these parts of
Whoa.
Scotland, you can still see the wall. The wall is still standing. And in the Game of Thrones, the giant ice wall was inspired by this wall.
Let me look this shit up.
And yeah, that is what encouraged the writer of the Game of Thrones to discuss the ice wall.
Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah, and they literally couldn't stop them from raiding, and they couldn't conquer the area, so they just built a
No
wall.
wonder this wall's like 4 feet tall. You're not going to keep out anything with it.
Well, I mean, it's 4 feet tall now. It's been 2,000 years, almost.
I mean, I don't know. Buddy.
But they built the wall, and they were able to keep kind of where they were for a while.
I think this is a very good example of the age-old adage of no matter what you think you're good at, a 10-year-old in Asia is probably better. Because we made Hadrian's Wall, and then China was like, we're gonna make a wall too, and it's gonna be a pretty great wall, honestly.
Yeah, Great
And-
Wall that didn't accomplish what they were trying to do at all.
I don't give a fuck, bro. I've never heard of Hadrian's Wall, but then Great Wall of China, that's one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Yep.
So,
And then they didn't even keep out where they were trying to keep out.
yeah. Hey, it's a flex, honestly. If I was the Mongols, I wouldn't even go in just because of the flex.
Well, but the problem
it'd be
is
like,
they just
damn.
went around.
All right.
I mean, but that's the classic. That's like the one pitfall of a wall is that you can just go around it.
Yeah.
Unless you fully enclose the space. Like at some point the wall's gonna end.
Well, I mean, the
Right.
Japanese did good against the Mongols. Well, that's because they had a freaking ocean.
The ocean was their wall. Yeah. That was-
And they literally...
you can't go around that one. So
No. Also the same day, September 13th, was Michelangelo began his work on the Statue of David in 1501.
he's my favorite Ninja Turtle.
Michelangelo?
I like that he-
Nice.
I like that he skateboards. The Statue of David, that's the one with the tiny wiener, right?
Yes, it is.
That's tough. I'd be pissed if I was David. Low-key. Like that. Let me pull it up so I can recollect. Yeah, dude, that's like disrespectful, sort of. That's like,
Yep.
I don't know, man. That's purposeful. You got the fattest nuts, but then his wiener's like this big.
Listen, man. It's not about the size, it's about what you do with it.
But that's crazy. Why would you do that? He's
I-
literally got
it's-
like a horse's nuts. They're fucking huge.
So that was going on September 13th in 1501. And then September
Michelangelo
14th.
freak, Loki.
What was September 14th for us? September 14th was Thursday.
Yeah.
And on this day in 1812 was the Great Fire of Moscow. And the reason there was a Great Fire in Moscow was because of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte was the leader of France during
Short man.
who was not short. He was actually tall for his time. He was pretty tall for his time. He was like 5'7", I think. And for his time, that's pretty tall. But it's just really big propaganda that the British were using in order to make
I'm
him.
gonna start
small.
telling the hoes that. I'm gonna be like, no, I'm tall for my time.
Yeah, he's tall for his time. And he was actually, tall, but he wasn't short. But Napoleon made the smart decision, which was not a smart decision at all, to invade Russia. At first, he was doing pretty well. He had got together one of the biggest land armies ever of the time, or leading up to that time, of 300,000 people. Between 300,000 and about 500,000. So a lot of people.
My army was big for its time, man. Chill.
Huge. It was one of the biggest armies like that the world had ever seen. And he decided to invade Russia. Now, he invaded during the summer of, I think, 1812. Don't quote me on that. But he invaded, and the Russians, instead of fighting him, because if you fought Napoleon directly, you would lose. He just was like an onslaught. He just consistently winning battles after battles after battles, even against like some of the best armies at the time.
Insane power level.
He even beat the three armies of. It's going to be Russia, Persia. I mean, no, not Persia. Russia, Prussia, and Austria, and those are like some of the best armies. And he just ran through them like they were nothing. Anyway,
I've never heard of them, so.
the Russians decided, instead of fighting Napoleon, who was going to beat them in direct battle, that they would do a scorched earth tactic, which means that they would retreat back and burn everything that was there, so that the French wouldn't get the supplies that they like left behind. So they would like burn everything down, and as they were like retreating, they'd burn it so that the French wouldn't get it. And it was working. The French were losing a lot because they weren't able to like collect food as they went because they burnt everything. And this leads us to Moscow, where the Russian government basically abandoned Moscow and then they burnt it to the ground. So they decided just to burn it instead of letting Napoleon have it. And that is the Great Fire of Moscow. And it burned for 5 days.
That shit must have been hard to burn.
It went up real quick, apparently. And Napoleon couldn't put it out.
I mean, like, yeah, it would take like an entire army to burn down the city, but like, even like if you give me a flamethrower or like something that shoots napalm, and I could probably only make it through like, you know, a quarter of Albuquerque before, you know, like I started to either run low, or I'd probably even run low before then. So it's like the pure like the amount of fire and like oil that you would need to light an entire capital city on fire,
Mm.
absolutely insane to me.
Yep.
And to burn for 5 days too.
5 days, and Napoleon couldn't put it out, so the French literally they got no supplies.
Yeah, they just dipped. They were like, you know what?
And then they attacked during the summer, so there was like a lot of mud and shit going in, and it just made them take so long that by the time they got to Moscow, it was winter, and then they had to retreat, and it was very not good. They lost about a third of the people, or 2/3 of the people that they took with them.
So like,
So like 2/3 of about 300,000.
it's hard to call that a win though. You know, like
Yeah, burning down your own
Still-
city.
you still burn down like the heart of your nation. Like,
And
what,
all
what
the
do you
forest around it.
what do you do after that? Like, you're like, yeah, we won, and then you fucking freeze in the winter. Like,
Yeah, where it's like, where's my house?
Yep, that was September 14th, 1812.
like, hey, we didn't burn everything, did we? That was just a prank, right?
And I just get back flat.
And
Like,
then,
oh.
so that's September 14th in 1812. And then if we fast forward 2 years, we join our boy Francis Scott Key. He is
Yeah.
the man who wrote Defense of Fort M. Henry, which is the Star Spangled.
Is of the sweet land of liberty.
Which is known as the Star Spangled Banner. And for those of you who don't know, Francis Scott Key was one of the people who was captured on a ship when the British were attacking Fort Henry. They took a ship, and he was on it, and they put him in the brig. And while they were bombarding the Fort Henry, he was in the hull of the ship writing a poem.
He's cooking up a verse.
Yeah. Ready to drop the next track.
Yeah, and he was a captured individual
Devious mind on
who
him.
was
British are like, hey, what are you doing over there?
nothing.
Hey, yo, this is heat, bro.
They're looking at it through the bars.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
And that was September 14th. And then September 15th, which was Friday of this week. September 15th, in 1916, the first tanks in warfare were used. And they were referred to as the Little Willies. And they would participate in the Battle of the Somme.
What's up with these like super unassuming names for like some of the most devastating inventions in human history?
Yep.
Like the Little Willies, Big Boy, Fat Man, or Little Boy and Fat Man. Like
It's like, yeah, no,
absolutely
you don't have to worry about it. What are you
sociopath
talking-
language. We're gonna come up with something that can like destroy planets in 100 years, and they're gonna be like, "This is Rainbow Sunshine." We're
This
gonna be
is
deploying,
Rainbow Sunshine.
we're gonna be deploying it on the Martians. So
Damn, that's crazy.
hope you guys didn't like Mars too much.
And anyway, it was the first use of the tanks. This was during World War One, and during World War One, tanks weren't really actually used that often. This was like one of the only times they were used. In
They're
fact,
also just like refrigerators on wheels, basically.
there was was one of the biggest cavalry charges in history happened during World War One. And I don't know who it was. Someone charged someone, but there was like tanks on the battlefield, and they charged them with cavalry. And yeah, isn't that crazy?
I think
And-
we were using swords and shit like that for a while.
Yeah.
Like I think like the last documented sword kill from like a cavalryman was in like World War II.
Yeah, there were several major attacks by cavalry, by the freaking Australians on the British.
Absolutely
Well, they ran-
insane to get killed by a sword. Get melee killed in 1940.
The 1940s. Yeah. And then we do the last day of the week, which is today, September 16th in 1620. What happened in 1620 on September 16th? The English colonists got aboard the Mayflower and made their way to America.
Damn.
Yes.
The OGs.
Yes, sir. And they made their way to America.
It took
Well,
them, like,
that's when they started their trek. Their
took them,
6
like
month.
3 months, didn't it? Oh,
No,
6
it was
months.
like 8 months or something like that. I think
Dude, fuck that.
God.
8 months to be.
They even
on
could
the
fit that
ocean.
much on a boat.
The better part of a year on a boat.
Yes, or on a boat, and that's just brutal. Can you imagine that? That's
Dude, I would,
that's the way how you travel.
Dude,
across
how
the-
much food do you gotta bring? Like, what are the logistics of that ship?
I mean, ships are pretty big. Like, they're a lot bigger than you might think, especially one like the
Oh,
Mayflower.
they're huge. And
Yeah.
they also had several other ships with them.
I guess I can also fish, so I guess that's helpful.
Yeah, fishing probably did help too.
They had
But
a lot of
still, the
of
amount of
alcohol.
like the amount of fresh stuff you'd have to bring to like prevent scurvy and things like that.
Yeah,
That's
so you don't
crazy.
arrive there fucking dead.
Yeah, I mean a lot of them did anyway. Like,
Yeah.
we lost a lot of OGs on the Mayflower. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, that was not very good. But they said so, and they were.
And they weren't
able-
even like super sure that there would be anything there. There had been like explorers and stuff that had been like, yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy over there. They've like everything we got here, it's over there as well, and more stuff. Carrots, found them over there, and
Carrots,
so they were
many
like, but where,
things were found over there.
but where though?
Tobacco?
And they're like just about 8 months that way.
8 months that way.
Like,
Yeah, 8
Can't
months.
imagine if you're on the wrong angle, like by a degree, for like any amount of time, it completely throws. You could end up 600 miles up the coast. Like,
And so you got a sextant. You're good. Ayo.
always be having.
Anyway, that is the history highlights of the week. What do you all think? Crazy week.
That's pretty interesting, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like thinking about how much we just like kill each other
Yeah.
throughout history.
There's a lot of that.
Dying in forests, getting killed by naked men.
Yeah,
Guy
that was
getting
really...
melee killed in World War One.
And 2.
Yeah.
and two.
The thing about the tanks that's funny is like from what I know, they had like 5 different like variants of tanks because it was like a testing period, right?
Yep.
The First World War. One of my favorite ones is like the reason that we have treads, is that I think the Germans brought in a tank, and it only had wheels, and so it tried to go over one of the trenches
Yep.
that they had, and it just went straight into
Yep,
it.
straight in, and they're like, "What do we do now?"
And then everyone on the other side was like,
What
was
is that?
there?
What was that?
What are you guys doing over there?" And they were like, "Don't look."
Yeah, they're all trying to pull it over so they can't see it, and they just see the top sticking up out of the trench. The wheel's
Gotta-
still spinning.
Guy pop out of the thing. He's like, "I don't know." Like,
No, I don't know. You know what's
Like, how do we get it
also
back
crazy
out?
about that time? Did you know that the Germans who were using gas on people, were using mustard gas?
Let's not point fingers.
Right,
I think everybody was,
No,
I think
it-
everybody was using gas.
It was the Germans because the Germans are the ones that invented it. But anyway, they were using mustard gas on people, which like literally melts your lungs if you breathe it in. And they got mad at the Americans when they came over to participate in the war because they brought
They said they came
shotguns.
over.
Yeah.
They were
remember
mad. They were
that.
mad. They were like, "This is a war crime." The shotguns, and it was like, "You're literally dropping gas on people."
There's no honor in these shotguns.
Yeah, because they were just so devastating that they're like, "What?" The?
I think one of the other things that I learned about that, the guy who created the mustard gas for the Germans
Yes.
or whatever, it wasn't initially planned to be that. It was supposed to be like a way to to restore the nitrogen that's lost in like agricultural
It's
fields.
fertilizer, basically.
Yeah, it was like a way to literally solve world hunger.
Yep.
Like this guy figured out how to catalyze nitrogen and like use that, and the Germans were like, you know what we could also do with that?
Yep. And he got like a Nobel Prize for it, and then he went on to make the gas.
Yeah.
And he was like not even remotely opposed to it. He was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And I was like,
Well, no,
What?
the thing that I heard was that he was opposed to it, but he believed that the German like
yeah, he had that
military was
ideology.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was brainwashed by them. He didn't like sort of like Oppenheimer, right? Where he was like, I don't really agree with what we're doing and how we're using these things, but like I think that we're right to do so.
Yeah.
And that's fucked, man. That's tough.
Yep.
Solve world hunger, and then they're like,
Solve
you
world
know what else
hunger
would solve
while
world hunger? Less
Less
mouths to
people.
feed.
Yeah.
Yep. and drop gas.
Less specific.
And then another. So speaking of the gas, there's something that happened in World War One that I have to talk about now. They had dropped. So the Russians were also in World War One, and when they were in the war, the
They were
Germans.
our homies too.
Yeah.
That's tough, man. They were our homies the whole time. World War One and Two. And then all of a sudden, when Cold War comes, and we're like, we fucking hate you. Actually,
Yeah.
matter of fact, dog, I didn't fuck with you at all that whole time. I hated you. Like,
Yeah.
I was talking
It was-
shit about
that's
you
what it
the
was.
whole time.
talking shit about you all day, bro. Every time we went into battle, I was like, I hope this motherfucker dies. Like, and then like for 60 years prior to that, we were like, Russia,
Yeah,
what's
my
up,
boy.
buddy? Saving the world.
Yep, and then that happened. But yeah, they were fighting the Germans, and the Germans released some gas, and it was a bunker they couldn't take. They literally couldn't take it.
They released some gas.
It was a
Released,
bunker
like,
that they couldn't
Soulja
take.
Boy.
Yeah, ripped a fat one on the battlefield.
So they let the gas go and pass over this area, and they waited a couple days. They're not even a couple days, a couple hours, and they're like, everyone's probably dead because they put the gas over there. They go over there, they start going out there, and then they get attacked by some Russians that are still alive. They're literally melting because of the gas that was like there and stuff, and they think that they're like the undead attacking them, and they thought they're like zombies, and they were freaking out.
Pretty badass.
Yeah, they ran out and freaking started attacking them, and they
Yeah,
scared
again, the
them. So they
Russians
all
are
ran.
like, yeah, we won! And then they all die.
We won! The kid
then-
falling off.
Yeah, we won, and now we have to go fight a civil war. That's fun.
But at what cost?
Yeah, but at what cost?
Could you imagine that?
Yeah,
They're fighting World War
One
One,
is-
and then
World War One is full of good stories. Well, good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
But, like,
yeah,
I mean, there is
No,
one
they're-
good story. They decided not to attack each other for Christmas one time.
Yeah, on Christmas Day. Yeah,
And they even
were-
exchanged gifts.
Yeah, that's
Is that wild? Literally,
know,
like
man.
just about they were
I'm
just
surprised
killing
they
each
weren't
other.
like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be fighting each other.
Yeah.
my thing. Is that like you would think that they wouldn't be able to go back afterwards, right? But no, they were just like, all right, pack it up, fellas.
They're
Go
like,
back
all
into
right,
their
pack it up.
back into their trenches, and they're like, I'm gonna look this guy dead in the whites of his eyes before I kill him.
Yep. And there was a lot of people died in that war.
They're like, oh, it's not Christmas anymore. I hate you.
Just to trenches too. They were just like trying to freaking run at each other and hopefully get to their position before they.
I think a lot of people like. I think there were a lot of environmental kills too in World War One, like because the motherfuckers were just dying of trench foot.
Yeah, the rats. The rats
Yeah.
would literally eat people who are alive. Like they're alive, and the rats are
Yeah,
there
that's
munching.
fucked, man.
Yeah, the war's crazy. But that's history
War is
highlights.
crazy.
Yeah, war is crazy.
Dude, war
And
is
now
so
we're gonna
crazy.
we're gonna move away from war and talk about some other stuff. So, the next segment that we're gonna be doing is called Music Hits of the Week. Music Hits of the Week is the next segment. What have you guys been listening to this week?
So I must be special in the way that I find music, but I'm finding music that's like old. But I'm like, dang, this stuff smacks. Why didn't I listen to it before?
Motherfucker listening to like Daft Punk, like
Yeah, yeah. Now I've been listening to Bruno Mars, dude.
No, but yeah, who have you
Bruno
been listening to?
Mars.
Bruno Mars.
Scott, who have you been listening to? Bruno Mars. Who? What were you gonna say? What
What?
old band did you listen to, or music did you find?
Bruno
Oh,
Mars.
I also
No, not
absolutely
Bruno
love
Mars.
any old music, such as Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé. That's not old. You're from the
Yeah, I know,
'70s,
but
buddy. The song from the '70s that you found.
yes, there's a band from the 70s called Silver, and they have a song called Wham Bam Shangalang, and it's fantastic.
Wham Bam Sailing.
That's the meme song.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is the music. Like, that's how I found it.
Yep. That's a good one. It is a good one. I think they featured that in Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Did
which
they?
yeah, I
Also-
think so, which is why it is like that series has single-handedly revived like 80s.
I know the
and
first soundtrack
Yeah.
from the volume 1
70s
is
and 80s music.
fantastic.
Yeah, we have the vinyl from the freaking first one.
Yeah, I picked that one up too.
That's funny.
Is Heat.
And Justin,
also
what have
like
you been
a-
listening to this week?
Called Michael Bublé old.
Michael Bublé. I love
This
Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
week specifically, not
Yeah.
Fuck.
anything.
You haven't been
Honestly.
listening to any music.
No, like not at all.
Wow.
I don't think I've listened to a song this week.
All right, what about the
Um,
most recent new stuff that you found,
actually,
or
um,
like other bands you like that came out with songs?
actually no. Grayscale just released a new song.
Grayscale, very good band.
And it's called Not Afraid to Die. I think it's coming off of their new album, and it is chef's kiss. I love everything that Grayscale puts out. They're probably
Grayscale. What is the genre?
probably
of
one of
Grayscale?
my top 3 bands. I think they're they're probably pop punk, pretty much.
Pop punk.
And they are so good. Every album, banger. So this one probably going to be good, but this single has convinced me. So we'll
Oh,
see.
very nice. Yeah. Well, the newest stuff that I've been listening to, it's a metal band called Resolve. They just came out with a new album. Very good new album, which is called what? Let me see what it's called. I don't remember what it's called. Them, and then other music. I listen to basically anything, everything. But this band Resolve, they came out with an album called Human. It's very good. It's in the metal genre. And then also, other music I enjoy, Madison Beer came out with a new album. Very good too. Not bad.
I mean, I don't know about all that, but
Oh, I think I know about all that. Wait, what?
There we go. There's our some music hits of the week. And then now we're just going to move on to our thoughts of the week. What we've been doing, what we've,
Actually, before we end the music,
you can keep
I've
talking
been
about music.
listening
We're good.
to Boy What on Spotify, the AI generated SpongeBob music, and it slaps.
Yeah. And you have to admit, it does pretty good.
that's a tough I love him, but I mean, I guess we can move into this for like the week. This is pretty topical. But like AI generated content,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Is like,
Wild.
do we? Because I'm sure at some level, Boy What is that's BOI and then what?
yeah.
I'm sure at some level he is musically talented, or she. We have no fucking clue.
It's a dude, and he did the newest song that came out was Plan Z, and it's Plankton.
Yeah.
And he did
It's
the
like a
riffs
metal
in
one.
that, in the riff metals, and the
Oh,
riff metal.
he did them?
He
Yeah,
did the
yeah,
metal
he-
riffs that were in that song.
Yeah. So it's like there is musical value.
Yeah,
in
there's
that,
talent
right?
behind it.
There's
yeah, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
just like
No, there
yeah.
definitely is.
There's talent behind a lot of it, but there's also talent behind a lot of AI art, right? And
Yeah.
that's still gotten like there's big in the art community people that aren't doing AI art is like it's ruining the industry. We haven't heard that in music yet because I think for the most part it's like memes right now with like people getting SpongeBob to sing a country song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thinking about it like turning into something where it's going to be so close that you won't even know that the person singing one of your favorite songs doesn't actually exist, and it's
Right.
just an AI that is programmed to do this. Um, it's very interesting because
Yeah. Will
it's
be
like
very
at
interesting
what
when that will happen.
at what point do we,
Is it too much? Yeah.
or not even too much, but at what point does it differentiate itself from regular music, right?
Right.
Like the people who make AI art or something like that, there's been a lot of art competitions where people will submit stuff, and then you'll see that the top one for whatever got some sort of bad press because it came out that it was created by AI, so they were disqualified. But it's like, that's still the person who was behind that still generated that art, right?
Right.
So it's like,
Interesting.
are we going to get to that with music? And even then, I could talk about AI forever, but
Yeah.
like
Yep.
even then, like is it unfair to categorize it as non-human, right? Because it may be a computer that's doing it, but pulling their algorithms are pulling from human created content.
Yeah.
So everything made by an AI
Is yeah.
technically is human fed. It all
Right.
stems from the human experience, but it just synthesizes it in its own way, which a lot of humans do, right? We
Right.
synthesize what we know of the human experience and we create things. The only
But a
difference
lot
is
of
that
things is I don't know if it's really creation. I think it's just just collecting what it, like the patterns it recognizes and putting it into. I'm not too sure that's creating something
I think it's not
or
different than what humans do, because all
right.
that we do when we create art is recognition of patterns and putting things together in a way that is either aesthetically pleasing, means something to us,
Right.
or that we think it might mean something to other people, right? That's all an AI is doing. We're
Mm-hmm.
taking the
The
things that we
patterns and
know,
stuff.
squares, geometric shapes, abstract shapes, lines, things like that, putting them all together, synthesizing them in a way that creates some sort of message. And that's exactly what AI does. The only difference is that the thing creating it doesn't, it's not self-conscious, right? It doesn't think for itself.
Right.
Or at least as far as we know, right? Because
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I
I
think
mean, it's
for the most
interesting.
part, it's just it's still taking the ideas from the humans. So I mean, without the humans, you can't have the AI. So it doesn't really matter.
I think that's sort of similar to humans, though. Because I mean, like
Right. I mean,
all
you
that.
still have that creativity if you take away, like it all came from somewhere, came from the people who were, who came up with the ideas to do it. I think
Yeah, but
you still have
I think
that
that
aspect.
if you took away all art from humans, right? If you took away everything in the repository of art, um, we would go back to like essentially caveman times, right? And then back then, the art that they created was it was based on outside stimuli, right? They would draw, either the people around them. So if you isolated a caveman and, you know, he had a creative gene, he wasn't, just going out and killing things.
Yep.
Um, Eventually he would start drawing the world around him, right?
Obviously.
He would start drawing trees, grass, things like that, maybe venture into abstract concepts, right? And that's exactly what an AI does. It looks at the things that are fed to it,
Right.
and it generates outputs based on that. An AI is given it's given finite bounds, right? So you tell it
Right.
you can look at all of these images. For instance, like something like ChatGPT will look at everything on the internet and be like, you can look at all of this shit, which is first of all wildly not something we should let a computer look at. The
No.
internet's not a good place. But it will look at everything within those bounds, and it'll just create things, right? And that's exactly what it'll draw the world around it.
Right.
And that's exactly what humans do. So I think that it does create. I think that the only reason that people don't value it the way they value other art is because the thing doing the creating technically doesn't have a soul, right?
Yep.
Because you can give an AI prompts just like you can give a human prompts. I can tell a 5-year-old and an AI, hey, draw a cow, and they'll probably both have pretty close approximations of a cow, right? The AI might fuck up in some places. The child might fuck up in some places. But generally, they know what it looks like. So they'll draw it. But just one's made by something that is able to think for itself.
Right. Yeah, I
so-
think it's more of a tool, but a lot of people are more afraid of it. Than
Oh, for sure.
Like that.
It's
That's why they're
yeah,
not
no,
going to be.
it's
That's why it will eventually be like people opposed to it in music, because it's like, what's wrong with music? I mean, but then again, what is music? So
compilation of inputs to create an output.
yep.
But even then, like the
Oh, speaking of, there's a new AI movie I want to go see. It's called The Creator. It looks freaking cool.
I saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, it's called The
It was by
Creator.
the guy who made Rogue One.
Yeah, that's why that's why I was
oh.
excited. Yeah,
Yeah, and it got like pretty much no coverage.
yeah, I'm not,
Like it comes out in a week.
yeah, and it looks pretty good. I thought
I
it
s-
looked pretty sick.
I will probably be going to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's an interesting one as well because they they talk about AI in like this weird way.
Yeah, that's why I
one
thought
of
it was cool.
one of the lines of the movie was the AI are generating a weapon, and it's like, yeah, I guess maybe like you make them sound like these like benevolent beings, like they have, or not benevolent, but like thinking beings,
Right.
where it's like it's not that they're developing a weapon. Like an AI can do things so much faster than humans
Well, yeah, because
could do. So it's like, they're not developing it. If they wanted to, they would. It would be there. They would
Yeah.
have it. Like, but it's
yeah,
it
that
looks
I mean
interesting.
there's like a lot of stuff that we've already been questioning that kind of thing for a while. Like in Star
Yeah.
Trek, that's like one of the major things in Star Trek is that going on right now, right? In what Picard, I think it's called, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What happens
Or
in
like
that
in a-
with the AI?
They
Scott?
have a AI. They have a world. Spoilers. Guess it doesn't matter. They have a world of synthetic beings that are all AI, and Starfleet has banned all AI stuff like that for making synthetics that can think on their own. But it's just because the humans were doing it on their moon base, and they churned and killed all the humans on the moon base. But that's because they weren't treating them very well.
that's like a classic
Yeah,
case,
yeah.
though. Like Mass Effect did that with
Yeah.
the Geth.
Again.
Yeah, that's it's an
Yeah, it's
interesting topic.
Because and then you have the other aspect whenever the AI actually try to, you know, take over, like Terminator, where the humans give
Yeah.
them this prompt, or even like what is it, Horizon, the video game, and both
Yeah.
those they gave the prompt to the machine or the AI basically to like keep the world safe, but in doing so humans were bad, so they targeted the humans, and they started killing the humans because they're like,
Well-
they're bad. So
Horizon was like that because
I'll be right back.
humans were bad, right? It was Ted Faro that did it in Horizon.
Right.
He's the one that programmed Hades.
yes,
To, fuck everything.
yep.
Um,
But the machines were started. They began targeting humans because for some reason. But there was also like that virus and stuff. But Anyway, but the point is that they were like using machines, and the machines just are like, "Oh, you guys are bad because you told us that this thing is bad, so now we have to target you because you're doing the bad thing." But that's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. They had they had a Junji Ito has like a short story that's sort of like that, where it's like these people are they're kind of just existing, and they'll do like something negative, and then all of a sudden they'll just get like splatted, like out of nowhere they'll just be like walking or something, and then um and it was like he was alluding it to the Earth acting as a human does whenever a mosquito is like trying to bite it, right?
Right.
And so that's like sort of the same thing where the entity in charge of protecting the Earth sees humans as the chief cause of, you know, Earth's woe and misery, and that's the only way to protect Earth is to destroy this thing.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty common. I
Oh
think
yeah.
humans are really self-deprecating in that way. We want to be like, no, we're the bad guys after all. But I think we would probably program them to not turn on humans, like the first rule of robotics.
Yeah. Well, they did that in what was it, iRobot? They had
Mhm.
the three laws or whatever.
I mean,
Oh,
those are like
but then they also it also broke it, so it
yeah, but
also
those are
broke
like
away from that.
universal laws
Right.
that I think iRobot maybe started them. I'm not too sure where they came from. But like pretty much every movie that dabbles in robotics has those three laws of like you can't harm a human, can't do any of this other stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that a lot,
yeah,
especially because it's becoming a bigger thing.
they we've actually been using AIs for quite some time.
Yeah, for
Uh,
a lot. Well, in the
yeah,
sense of machines recognizing patterns and replicating it
yeah,
type thing.
but we could talk about that another week.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Anything else going on this week?
Um, no, me and I went to go see the A Haunting in Venice.
Oh, how was that?
It's pretty good. It's a Hercule Poirot movie. Um,
Nice.
so it was a good mystery. It was supposed to be sort of spooky, I suppose, but it was more just like a thriller than anything. Um, and it was loud. It's like one of the loudest movies I've ever been in.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it was just like there was a ton of. It would go from silence to just the most deafening noises in like a
Okay.
period of no time. Like it was almost like a jump scare, but just not really because there was no build up to it.
Right.
So it took a little bit to get used to, but ultimately I think it was pretty good. Good story,
Yep.
and the characters were well done. It was good.
Yeah. I watched a movie from like 2014 the other day. It's called The Drop with wait, who's in it? With Tom Hardy. It's called The Drop. It's pretty good. I feel like it's like a slow burn movie type thing.
Yeah,
And I was
and,
like, that was actually not a bad movie. It's like has to do with the underground like crime type thing.
an American crime film about a barman who becomes entangled in an investigation with them after the mafia run bar he works at is robbed.
Yes, and it's pretty good movie. I was like, wow.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's
I'd never
Tom
heard of it.
Hardy, so
Yeah, Tom Hardy's a very good actor. I mean, one of his best movies, one of his movies I like the most is Dunkirk, and he's just literally flying in an aircraft. He's like not even doing anything; he's just flying in an aircraft. I'm like, yeah, that guy's a pretty good actor.
I don't think I saw Dunkirk.
Dunkirk is pretty good. I like that movie quite a bit. The guy that is Oppenheimer, What's his name?
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's gotten famous recently because of Oppenheimer and a lot of other things.
Dude, a
but-
lot of his movies have been great. I don't know why he has been slept on for so long. Have you ever seen 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the main protagonist in that.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the main one. He wakes up in a friggin'
I-
hospital after the virus is like taking over.
He actually what?
Yeah, he's the main protagonist.
I don't even remember that. Oh my god, he is.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, it's because
that
it's
movie's
so
pretty good.
It's so old that like I
Yeah,
didn't recognize
that movie's
him.
from a long time ago. When is it from?
Yeah, 2003.
2003. Yeah, 28 Days Later.
Or no, 2002.
Oh wow, even longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's in that, and then he's Scarecrow and Batman, like,
Yeah. That's what I know him from.
and then Dunkirk, and then that's like just like skimming the top. He's done so much stuff.
Yeah, he was in Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, the Peaky Blinders. I know that.
I think that's where he got famous though.
Yeah, it was the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
he's been in
everybody
a
was
lot
like,
of different
oh my
things.
god, this guy's amazing. You know, I was like, dude, he's been around for a while. Y'all
Yeah, he's been around
sleeping on
for
him.
a while. He's
It's
also
like him and the dude who plays the Riddler,
oh yeah,
on this-
that guy
on
is
the- Paul something or whatever.
The Prisoner. Have you seen that movie? From like 2015 or something like that, I think.
Paul Dano, I think his name is.
Yeah. The Riddler.
he's-
He's in a lot of things. He's also always the fucking like creepy
The
dude.
bad. Yeah, he's always the bad like weirdo.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, man, it sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, Paul Dano, the Riddler.
He's in a couple of. He's also in the movie where, and he's James Cameron or something, I think.
There's There Will Be Blood. He's in that.
Oh, There Will Be Blood. That movie is great.
12 Years a Slave. He's in Dumb Money, which I want to go see.
Oh, Dumb Money.
There
Will Be Blood.
Warren
movie.
Beast.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Let's go.
Looper. I didn't know he was in
He's
Looper.
in Looper.
Yeah, he's in a lot actually,
Yeah.
going all the way back to '96.
Wow. I think the one that I knew him the most from is The Prisoner, with
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, where he like murders Hugh Jackman's daughter, and Hugh Jackman's like, "Where is she?" Oh, he was doing the "Where is she" thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty good. Him and the dude from The Bear. He's been getting big too.
The dude from The Bear. Which guy? The main one or the secondary?
Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah, Jeremy Allen White. Yeah, from he's from Shameless.
Yeah,
where I knew him from.
He's been getting big because of
I like-
this one.
Yeah, I like his movies too. So is one of his other guy. The other guy, I can't remember his name. He plays Richie in it, in The Bear. He's in freaking Andor, the TV show from Star Wars. He's like not even remotely close to the same character he is in that.
Eben Moss Bachrach.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's in Andor, and I was like, what the heck? Why is he here? Andor was
Yeah,
alright.
he's also in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed that. That movies. What movie is coming out that I want to see? Oh, there's another movie with Woody Harrelson I want to see. It's called the Champions, I think. And he has a bunch of actors with Down syndrome, like that actually have Down syndrome, that are in that movie.
Oh yeah. That one I was gonna go see that in theaters, but I just never got around to it.
Yeah, it's on Prime now for free, so I'm gonna go watch it. Well, not free, but
Yeah, I heard it was pretty good.
it looks pretty good, and I want to see it. It's one of the few movies. That, and then I want to see Oppenheimer, which I haven't seen yet, and then Napoleon, which comes out in
one's
November.
good.
I want to see
Oppenheimer was
Napoleon
really
with
good.
what's his name? He plays the Joker in the movie The Joker, not the Joker.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. He's gonna be Napoleon. I was like,
Really?
what? Yeah, and it's wild because it's supposed to be young Napoleon, and he's freaking not young.
Yeah, he's
He's getting up there, and he's supposed to be playing Napoleon, and we'll see how that is. But he's also
Napoleon
twice
20?
the age of Napoleon.
Well, I mean, he kind of looks like Napoleon in some of the pictures.
Yeah, it's just his age. But I'm not
Yeah.
like opposed to it. It's just gonna be interesting to see a man play.
And it's a Ridley Scott film.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to that one. That looks really good.
I didn't even know this was coming out.
Yeah, Napoleon. Yeah, I'm like a huge like history, buff. So whenever anything remotely history comes out, I'm like, like Oppenheimer. I
go
am
see this.
so ready to see it.
That one was really good.
Yeah. That
Huh.
movie and the video games, dude. Spider-Man is looking so good. Spider-Man 2 is looking.
I didn't
very
watch
good.
any of the new stuff.
I've only seen like real short snippets of stuff.
Yeah, because they showed off more gameplay at the direct that they did, and I don't think I'm gonna watch it just because I already know I'm gonna buy it, so I don't
Yeah,
want to.
I'm not gonna watch it either. It's just
Yeah,
cool
it's-
that aspect you get to switch between Miles Morales and Peter Parker.
on the fly. Yeah,
Yeah, and then Venom's in it too, so you're like, what? That's
yeah. I think it's gonna be. I loved the first one. I loved Miles Morales, and so the DLC was kind of all right. But I think it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, that and then Cyberpunk comes out next week. No,
Yeah,
2 weeks. Wait, when's it come out?
the 26th.
Oh, 2 weeks.
But the update is available on the 20th, I believe.
Gotcha.
So I will probably be jumping back in on the 20th to like start playing on a new character. Just so I can hopefully be far
think
enough
that's-
along to start up the DLC whenever it launches.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm hyped as hell for that. That's probably I haven't even played Starfield at all this week.
Yeah, I haven't played. Okay, Starfield was good, but it's starting to get real repetitive.
Yeah,
It's a real Bethesda game, for sure.
yeah.
but,
I think
like, in a
it's gonna be
not
something I have to
way.
play in like bursts.
Me too.
Um,
Because I played for like 2 weeks straight, and now I haven't played it again since. So
my thing is that like in the limited time I have had, I think it's been like 10 hours. I have found 2 different like pirate bases or whatever
right,
of the exact same layout.
yeah,
To the T. I could
Me
tell
too.
you where every single lock chest is, all of them. And it's
yeah.
kind
It's
of
very boring. It,
yeah.
I like the idea, and you know what they should have done? They should have just done Fallout, a single player game, and then done Starfield multiplayer. I don't know why they wouldn't have done that. That just makes way more sense.
I think they should have just not done like such a big game.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like you don't need 1,000 planets. Like it sounds cool, but you don't need them. No Man's Sky has 53 billion planets, or no, I think they're in the trillion, is
Jesus
what
Christ.
they said whenever it came out. Like 13 trillion planets created, which is cool. That sounds incredible. I'm not gonna see them all.
Yeah, no. And
I
and
could
even
visit-
then, you only stay between like 3 or 4 planets. So-
Yeah, so it's like I could literally every single planet I could visit for a minute, and I would not be able to see everything before I died. That's how big No Man's Sky is, and Starfield sort of took it back a little bit, and they were like, okay, only 1,000. But even then, I would rather have. I'm getting to the point where I don't want a big open world.
Yep, me too. I am as well.
I would rather have a very condensed space that just has a ton of stuff in it.
Yeah, me too. That's why
And-
Assassin's Creed is actually looking too bad because it's
Yeah,
a lot smaller. It's only like I think only one city.
yeah, I think it's just Baghdad.
Yeah,
That one I'm looking forward to.
Me
I wasn't too hyped about the gameplay, because they could have done Unity. They could have taken the
Yep.
Unity parkour, and they could have done that, and it would have been stellar.
Yep, that would have been.
But
I
they-
agree.
But they brought back like the AC2 like
Yep.
parkour, and it's like that's some of the slowest shit in all of gaming. It did not feel good.
Yeah, no.
Like it didn't feel good during the time, and it feels even worse coming back to it.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I'll probably end up getting it just because it's coming out like
Me too.
right near my birthday. So I'll probably rationalize it as a birthday gift to myself. But I'm gonna go into it with sort of low expectations.
Yeah.
I think. I hope it beats him because I like Bassam. He was really cool. So I like him as a main character. Where the fuck is my camera going?
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. It got worse. All right, well, I think we're going to take that as a cue, and we're going to go ahead and end the podcast here. So
Yep.
that's podcast number 2 from September, what is it? September 10th to September
To the
16th.
16th, yeah. Edgar's here, but I can't even see him.
I know.
My camera is so fucking blurry.
Yep, that was pretty good. We learned First Amendment and a bunch of history stuff. So
So blurry.
yeah,
My camera is messing up. But either way, yep, that's week 2 down.
think join us for next week. Same thing. Gonna be talking about some interesting stuff.
Yep.
So
So
logging off.
bye for now.
Bye bye.